1957. A kitchen in Iowa. A stock pot on the stove since dawn. Chicken bones, a veal knuckle at 19 cents a pound, 1 quartered onion, the windows fogged, the smell reaching the front porch before the mail did. The woman standing over that pot is 46 years old. Her skin is tight across the cheekbones. She has never bought a cream that cost more than a dime. She does not know the word collagen. She has never needed to. These are the collagen-rich foods that kept 1950s women's skin tight. Every one of them is gone. Between 1955 and 1980, the American meat case changed completely, shifting from whole animals to boneless, skinless, plastic-wrapped portions. Bones, organs, feet, skin, marrow, and connective tissue disappeared. The butcher who knew your name was replaced by a refrigerated wall behind glass. Women didn't stop eating collagen by choice. The grocery store stopped offering it. Number 12. The Knox Gelatin Beauty Tonic. Women dissolved a packet of unflavored Knox gelatin in warm water or juice and drank it every morning, not for dessert, not for cooking, for their skin and nails. Knox gelatin in the red box, 10 cents a packet at the A&P, 1 teaspoon stirred into a glass of warm water or mixed into orange juice at breakfast. The faint animal smell vanished the moment it dissolved. Women's magazines in the 1940s and 50s ran Knox ads explicitly promising stronger nails and smoother skin, good housekeeping McCalls. Knox for Nails was an actual advertising campaign printed in full color on the back of women's magazines. The gelatin was partially hydrolyzed animal collagen. It provides the same foundational amino acids, though modern collagen peptides are fully hydrolyzed, so they dissolve easily in cold water without gelling. She bought it in the baking aisle. She drank it at the kitchen sink before the children came downstairs. It cost a dime. The beauty industry now sells the same protein powder with an influencer's name on the label. The ingredient did not improve. The price did, but the gelatin in that glass was only a fraction of what she was getting each day. The real supply came from a pot on the back burner that never fully cooled. Number 11. Chicken feet in the stock pot. Chicken feet, scrubbed, blanched, and simmered for hours, were the secret to stock that set solid when it cooled. That jelly was almost pure collagen. A pound of chicken feet at the butcher, 5 to 8 cents. The knobby, yellow, scaled appearance that made children stare. Blanched for 2 minutes in boiling water, the outer skin peeled away, then dropped into the stock pot with an onion, a carrot, a bay leaf. 6 hours at a low simmer. The stock that came out was golden and thick as syrup. Poured into a bowl and set in the icebox overnight, it went firm enough to slice. That wobble when you tap the bowl with your fingernail, that was collagen, dense, pure animal protein. Common in Black Southern kitchens, Appalachian kitchens, immigrant kitchens, anywhere a woman understood you used every part of the bird. The women who bought chicken feet were not poor, they were practical. They knew that the part of the animal the grocery store eventually threw away held the most value. That knowledge did not come from a nutrition label. It came from a mother who never wasted a thing. And chicken feet were only the beginning. There was another cut right beside them in the butcher's case that most people alive today would not even recognize. Number 10. Pickled pig's feet. Pig's feet, called trotters, were simmered low, then pickled in spiced vinegar brine. They were kept in glass jars in the pantry or the icebox. They were one of the most collagen-dense foods in the American diet. A jar of pickled pig's feet sat on the counter at the corner store. The vinegar brine was cloudy with dissolved gelatin. You could taste the soft, yielding texture of the skin and the cartilage between your teeth, the meat pulling clean from the small bones. Brands included Van de Kamp's and Hormel, 15 to 20 cents for a pint jar. They were common across the South, through Appalachia, in every Black American community with roots in the country. They served as a bar snack and a Sunday afternoon food. There was the sharp tang of vinegar and the richness of pork gelatin dissolving on the tongue. Today, most Americans under 50 have never seen one. The jars are gone from the store counters. The knowledge of how to make them left with the women who did. It was not a delicacy. It was ordinary, a man's lunch pail, a grandmother's kitchen, a food so common it did not need a recipe, just a jar and a week of patience. Number 9, liver and onions every single week. Pig's feet required patience. The next item required only a cast iron skillet and a mother who did not flinch. Beef liver or calf's liver, sliced thin, fried with onions in a cast iron pan. It appeared on American tables at least once a week. It was one of the richest sources of vitamin A, copper, and iron. When combined with vitamin C from vegetables, these nutrients provide the essential sparks your body needs to synthesize its own collagen. Calves' liver from the butcher costs 25 to 30 cents a pound, cheaper than ground beef. It was soaked in a bowl of milk for an hour to draw out the mineral bite, dredged in flour, salt and pepper, fried in butter or bacon drippings until the edges crisped. Onions sliced thin and cooked slow until they went soft and sweet. The iron-rich smell filled the kitchen, reaching the hallway, drifting up the stairs. The texture inside was soft, almost creamy, with a seared crust that crumbled at the edge. Children either loved it or they endured it. There was no third option. The plate was not optional. You sat there until it was done. She did not serve it because she liked it. She served it because her children needed it. That was the difference between feeding a family and following a preference. Liver came from the butcher's counter and required a skilled hand, but some of the most potent collagen foods came in a tin so small it fit in the palm of your hand. Number 8, sardines eaten whole, skin, bones, and all. Canned sardines eaten with everything intact. The skin was rich in collagen. The soft, edible bones supplied calcium. Together they delivered what no boneless fillet ever could. A flat tin of King Oscar or Beach Cliff sardines, 10 to 15 cents, packed in olive oil, mustard sauce, or tomato, eaten on saltine crackers for lunch, laid on toast with a thin slice of raw onion, or straight from the tin with a fork while standing at the counter between jobs. The soft crunch of the tiny vertebrae between your teeth, the silver skin glistening with oil. A food so nutrient-dense, the United States military included it in combat rations during both World Wars. A common working man's lunch at the factory or the loading dock, a tin of sardines, a sleeve of crackers, and a glass of cold buttermilk. The tin cost less than a cup of coffee. Nobody called it a superfood. They called it Tuesday. Something worth noticing at this point, not one of these foods was marketed as a beauty product. No label said anti-aging, no package promised youthful skin. These women were not trying to look young. They were feeding families with what was available and what they could afford. The collagen was incidental. It came inside food that was eaten for survival, for economy, for tradition. The beauty was a side effect of a diet that had not yet been redesigned for shelf life and convenience. That is the part no supplement powder in a $40 tub can replicate. Number 7, head cheese, a cold cut made by simmering a whole pig's head until the meat fell from the bone. The meat was picked, pressed into a loaf pan, and set in its own natural gelatin. Sliced cold, eaten on bread, a whole pig's head from the butcher, 50 to 75 cents, simmered with onion, celery, vinegar, pickling spices, and bay leaves for 5 to 6 hours. The meat picked from the skull by hand at the kitchen table, pressed into a loaf pan with the cooking liquid poured over. The natural gelatin from the skull, skin, and cartilage set the loaf solid overnight in the icebox. Sliced thin for sandwiches the next morning. Common in German American, Polish American, and Southern households from coast to coast. Called sows in some parts of the country, sold at the delicatessen counter at the A&P, at Piggly Wiggly, at every neighborhood butcher. A woman who could make head cheese could feed a family for a week from a part of the animal the modern grocery store sends straight to rendering. Most shoppers today would not recognize it behind the deli glass. That was not poverty. That was intelligence passed down through kitchens that understood the value of every ounce. Head cheese used the whole head. The next food used what most cooks threw away after the roast and turned it into something worth driving across town for. Number 6, oxtail soup. Oxtail, the tail of a steer, slow braised for hours with root vegetables. The connective tissue and cartilage melted into the broth. It created one of the richest natural collagen sources in the American kitchen. Oxtail from the butcher at 10 to 15 cents a pound, a throwaway cut in 1954, browned in lard or beef drippings in a heavy Dutch oven, then simmered 4 to 5 hours with carrots, celery, onion, turnip, and barley. The broth turned dark and glossy as it cooked. The meat fell from the vertebrae in soft ribbons. The gelatin so concentrated that the broth set solid in the icebox by morning. Recipes in the 1946 edition of The Joy of Cooking treated oxtail soup as standard weeknight fare. Today, that same cut sells for $8 to $12 a pound. A specialty item at the gourmet butcher counter, the cheapest cut at the butcher became the richest broth on the stove. That reversal tells you everything about what was lost when Americans started buying food by appearance instead of substance. Oxtail was a food that rewarded patience. But there is one food so old, so far removed from the modern kitchen, that most Americans alive today have never heard its name spoken out loud. Number 5. Calves' foot jelly. A clear, trembling jelly made by boiling calves' feet for hours, straining the liquid and letting it set. Given to the sick, the recovering, and the elderly as a restorative, it was pure collagen in edible form. 2 calves' feet from the butcher, 15 to 20 cents, split, scrubbed clean, soaked overnight in cold water, then simmered for 8 hours with a curl of lemon peel and a stick of cinnamon, strained through muslin cloth into a bowl, poured into small molds. It set firm and clear as amber, flavored sometimes with a splash of sherry or lemon juice and a spoonful of sugar, a convalescent food going back centuries. Referenced in Fanny Farmer's Cookbook and in Mrs. Beaton's household guides. Given to women after childbirth, to elderly parents losing weight and growing frail, to children recovering from fever, the way it trembled on the spoon, the faint sweetness, the cool, clean feel on the tongue. It was the food you made when someone you loved was too weak to eat anything else. It was not a recipe, it was an act of care that took the better part of a day. Calves' foot jelly was made with devotion and time. The next item was sliced right at the butcher counter and carried home wrapped in brown paper. Most modern shoppers would walk right past it without a second look. Number 4. Beef tongue. Whole beef tongue simmered for hours, peeled, sliced thin, and served cold or warm. The dense muscle was rich in collagen, healthy fat, and natural gelatin. A whole beef tongue from the butcher, 30 to 40 cents a pound, 3 to 4 pounds of solid meat. Simmered with black peppercorns, bay leaf, and a halved onion for 3 to 4 hours until completely tender. The thick outer skin peeled away in one piece while still warm, sliced thin against the grain with a sharp carving knife. Served cold on rye bread with brown mustard at the kitchen table, or warm with horseradish sauce on a Sunday. The texture was dense, fine-grained, almost buttery on the tongue. A standard item at every Jewish delicatessen, common in German-American homes and across the Midwest, sitting right beside the corned beef and pastrami at the deli counter, as ordinary as sliced ham. A cut of meat that required a woman to look at something unlovely and recognize its value. That skill applied to much more than cooking. Every one of these 12 foods shares something beyond collagen. They all required time. Hours of simmering, overnight soaking, patient skimming with the slotted spoon, a woman standing at the stove in the late afternoon, checking the pot, adjusting the flame. These foods could not be rushed, they could not be microwaved, they could not be ordered from a delivery app at 11 o'clock at night, and the body that absorbed them could not be replicated by a capsule swallowed in 2 seconds on the way out the door. The collagen was not just in the food, it was in the waiting. Number 3. Roasted marrow bones. Beef marrow bones roasted in the oven or simmered in the stock pot. The marrow was scooped out and spread on toast or stirred into soup. The empty bones went into the stock pot afterward. Nothing was thrown away. Marrow bones from the butcher, cut into 3-inch pieces, 5 to 10 cents a pound, often given away free if you were a regular customer and the butcher knew your name. Roasted in the oven at high heat until the marrow turned soft and golden in the center. scooped out with a narrow spoon or the tip of a butter knife. Spread on a warm slice of bread with a pinch of coarse salt. The taste, rich, almost sweet, deeper than butter, the way it melted on warm bread and disappeared. Children watching their father crack a bone at the head of the Sunday table. After the marrow was gone, the bones went straight into the stock pot. One ingredient, two uses, zero waste. A father at the head of the table cracking a roasted bone and handing the first warm taste to his youngest child. That was not a meal, that was a lesson in what matters. Marrow bones were the quiet luxury, but the true centerpiece of collagen in the American home, the one food that held every family dinner together, was simpler, slower, and far more powerful than anything else on this list. Number 2, the Sunday pot roast. Chuck roast, bottom round, or brisket, the cheapest, toughest cuts of beef in the case. Braised low and slow for 3 to 4 hours in a covered Dutch oven. The connective tissue broke down entirely into gelatin. The meat fell apart at the touch of a fork. The gravy set solid in the icebox overnight. A 3-pound chuck roast from the A&P, 49 to 59 cents a pound. Seared hard in a hot Dutch oven until dark brown on every side. The sizzle and the smoke rising to the ceiling, laid on a bed of quartered onions, carrots cut thick, and whole potatoes, a cup of water or stock poured down the side, lid on into a low oven, 275 degrees, for 3 to 4 hours. The smell that filled the house from noon until the table was set. The gravy that thickened as it cooled because it was loaded with dissolved collagen from every tendon and sinew in that cheap cut. Spooned over mashed potatoes, sopped up with torn bread, the particular tenderness of a tough cut that had been given enough time to surrender. She bought the cheapest cut in the case. She gave it 4 hours of her Sunday afternoon, and she put a meal on that table that her children remembered 50 years later. The expensive cuts did not need her skill or her patience. The cheap one did, and that was the one that held everything together. The pot roast sat at the center of the table every Sunday. But behind it, on the back of the stove, something else had been simmering even longer. Something so ordinary she never once thought to mention it. And it may be the most important food on this entire list. Number 1, bone broth made from scratch every single week, a stock pot on the back burner, bones from the week's meals, the chicken carcass from Sunday dinner, beef knuckles from the butcher at 5 to 10 cents a pound, pork neck bones. All of it dropped into the big pot on Monday morning with water, 1 onion, a few peppercorns, and a splash of vinegar to pull the minerals from the bones. Low flame. All day long. The kitchen windows fogged by noon, the smell that met the children at the front door after school. Savory, deep, warm, unmistakable. Strained through a colander lined with cheesecloth into wide-mouth mason jars. A thick cap of golden fat rising to the surface by morning. That broth went into everything. Spooned into soups, stirred into gravies, used as the cooking liquid for rice and beans and stewed vegetables, used to braise the next roast, used to thin the mashed potatoes, stirred into a sick child's cup to settle the stomach. The invisible base layer of nearly every meal that came out of that kitchen. It was not a product, it was a practice. The global collagen supplement market is now worth over $9 billion a year. Powders, capsules, gummies, flavored drink mixes in pastel packaging. The industry is selling women the same thing their grandmothers got for free from a stock pot and a Sunday roast. She did not call it bone broth, she called it stock. She did not buy it, she made it. From bones the butcher would have discarded. From a carcass that had already fed her family once. She turned what was finished into something that started the next meal. That pot on the back of the stove never really went empty, it just kept going, and so did she. If you want more forgotten wisdom from the generations who came before us, the next video is waiting for you right now.